Today on Country Cast, we got the guy who should have been a cowboy, and that's the man himself, Mr. Toby Keith. Toby Keith not only can perform and make great country music, but damn if he ain't afraid to also tell you just like it is, which we will get into that a little later in the video. But first, let's take a look at Toby Keith's career, starting with where it all began. Toby Keith Covell, yeah that's right, Toby Keith's real name is actually Toby Keith Covell. Gotta admit, Toby Keith is a way better stage name. Toby Keith was born in Clinton, Oklahoma on July 8, 1961 to his parents Carolyn Joan and Hubert Covell Jr. Toby would start out by spending a few years of his youth in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and then eventually he and his family would move to Moore, Oklahoma. At just the young age of 8 years old is when Toby Keith would start learning guitar. Now interestingly enough, Toby's grandmother actually owned a supper club named Billy Garner Supper Club, which was in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and that is where he was influenced by the local musicians and began his path with music. Toby himself also worked around the club, and from time to time he would perform on stage playing with the local bands. Local musicians would not be the only ones who had an influence on Toby Keith and his music, but he also took a liking to Western swing king Bob Wills and the man with the Bakersfield sound, Merle Haggard. Now when Keith and his family moved to Moore, Oklahoma, he ended up attending Moore High School. And during his high school years, he actually played as a defensive lineman for the football team and was also working at the rodeos. However, Keith graduated from Moore High School and then found himself taking a job in the oil fields as a derrick hand. Toby has no doubt shown his work ethic when it comes to being a country music megastar, so it would only make sense that he ended up becoming an operations manager within the oil fields. Oil fields is hard work, but that didn't stop him from doing what he was born to do, and that is to play country music. While holding a job in the fields, Toby formed a band with his friends known as the Easy Money Band, and they would play shows throughout the local bars. The band got its name after performing their first show, which was actually a wedding, and they made $1,000. Keith claimed it was easy money. Life was seeming alright for Keith until the oil business went into a downward spiral, which in turn left Toby without a job. Toby then turned to the next thing he knew and went back to training to be a football player, and eventually played for the semi-pro football team, the Oklahoma City Drillers, which was a farm team for the United States Football League team known as the Oklahoma Outlaws. Unfortunately, Toby Keith tried out for the Outlaws and did not make the cut, therefore leaving him with his music. Keith continued performing with Easy Money Band not only in Oklahoma, but also within Texas bars. Eventually, Toby made his way to Nashville, Tennessee, and gave out copies of a demo tape that his band had recorded. However, Keith had little luck and returned back home, hoping for a deal. Toby would get his wish, and his demo tape fell into the hands of Harold Shedd, who was also working with Mercury Records. Harold Shedd took the time to go and see Toby Keith perform, and I guess you can say the rest after that is history. Toby would release his self-titled debut album, which featured his first #1 single titled Should Have Been a Cowboy, which was #1 on Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart. Should Have Been a Cowboy is a classic and is still loved today by many. Toby Keith has gone on to release 17 studio albums since his debut record, with his most recent being 35 Mile Per Hour Town. Out of the 18 albums, Toby has had 9 go platinum, 8 went gold, and 20 songs out of all of his studio albums have went #1 on Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart. Now the accolades don't stop there. Toby Keith also has his fair share of awards as well. Keith has won several Academy of Country Music Awards that include Top Male Vocalist in 2000, Album of the Year for How Do You Like Me Now in 2000, and Shockin' Y'all in 2003. In 2006, he won probably one of the most prestigious awards in country music, being Entertainer of the Year. And in 2013, he took home ACM's Career Achievement Award. Moving on to his CMA Awards, Toby Keith also won the Male Vocalist of the Year in 2001. However, even with all the awards, #1 singles, and platinum and gold records, Toby has also found himself in controversy along the way. It started with the release of his #1 single titled Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, which was the lead single from his album titled Unleashed. Toby Keith wrote the song not only for the military, but also for his father, who was a veteran. Keith wrote the song after his father had passed away in a car crash, and the events took place during 9/11, which they all happened within the same year of 1991. Toby originally only performed the song during his concerts specifically for military members. However, he eventually recorded the hit song where it became a #1 single. Controversy struck when Toby was set to perform Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue on ABC during a show that they were producing for the 4th of July holiday back in 2002. According to Taste of Country, Keith was removed from the performance schedule after he declined to soothe over some of the lyrics within the song. He also had the option to sing a different song, but declined that proposal as well. In an interview with CBS News, Toby had this to say about his passion for the song. He said, "It wasn't written for everybody, and when you write something from your heart, I had a dad that was a veteran, taught me how precious our freedom is. I was so angry when we were attacked here on American soil that it leaked out of me. You know, some people wept when they heard it. Some people got goosebumps. Some people were emotionally moved. Some cheered, turned their fists in the air." Now, one person in particular who hated the song was actually a fellow country singer, Natalie Maines, of the country music group, the Dixie Chicks. Maines told the Los Angeles Daily Times her thoughts of Keith's patriotic anthem and said, "Don't get me started. I hate it. It's ignorant, and it makes country music sound ignorant. It targets an entire culture, and not just the bad people who did bad things. You've got to have some tact. Anybody can write, 'We'll put a boot in your ass.'" But a lot of people agree with it. The kinds of songs I prefer on the subject are like Bruce Springsteen's new songs. Toby Keith was not pleased with Maines after her comments and decided to take matters into his own hands. Keith would then begin placing a backdrop on his stage during his shows that displayed Natalie Maines and the president of Iraq at the time, Saddam Hussein. The feud between the two continued, and in 2003 at the ACM Award Show, Natalie wore a shirt that read FUTK on the front of it. At first, the Dixie Chicks said it stood for Friends United in Truth and Kindness. And according to Taste of Country, Natalie Maines ended up coming clean during their documentary titled Shut Up and Sing, and admitted that the acronym of FUTK did in fact stand for FU Toby Keith. So even with all of the controversy, Toby Keith has still managed to stay course and keep producing solid country music for years. Toby Keith just released his most latest single titled That's Country Bro, where he name drops a list of legends from the business. Sad to say, but the new generation of country music fans probably won't even recognize half of them. So if you are a newcomer to country music, I highly recommend giving it a listen, because trust me, if you check out the names mentioned throughout the song, it will definitely open your country library up to a whole new world. And plus, it's just another great song from Toby Keith. Toby Keith may have taken a little bit to get started in his career and figure out that country music was where he needed to be. But ultimately, in the end, it clearly paid off. No matter if you enjoy the 90s era Toby, or the 2000s Toby, or just the Toby Keith of now, there is no way, I don't think, that you could ever be disappointed in which one you get. He has always stayed true to himself, the music, and his fans. And it's always great when you have an artist who never forgets where they come from and can really connect with the people. I mean, how can anyone not connect with a guy who sings, "I ain't as good as I once was, I love this bar, wish I didn't know now," or even the classic, "I want to talk about me"? The list could simply go on and on for what songs really hit home with fans, or ones that just make you have a good time. Toby Keith is relatable and down to earth, and that again is what makes him still special after all these years. So thank you, Toby, and please keep doing what you're doing, because country music wouldn't be the same without you. So let us know in the comments down below your favorite song, favorite album, or just that one Toby Keith concert that you had the time of your life. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. That's all for today's video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down at the bottom and turn those notifications on for breaking updates on your favorite country artists and all the news coming right out of Music City. Y'all stay country.